Hi, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a project recipe. This project recipe is for Craft Happy. This is a collection that came out here recently and has everything to do with all kinds of craftiness and lots of sewing. It has a lot of sewing and painting and just kind of all around craftiness. I hope you like it. I think it comes together pretty well and it's a fun one. It certainly has lots of neat things added to it, and I am going to show you how they work. So let's check out my workspace and we'll get started. All right, have I got a lot for you today. So this is the Craft Happy collection. This came out just a little bit ago, and this is, we're going to put together the project recipe for this today, but I wanted to talk to you for just a minute about this collection if you have not gotten it yet. This is so perfect if you are a crafter that enjoys sewing projects or crochet, or there are even embellishments for us scrapbookers in this collection, but not a lot, just a tiny bit. Most of this is for the sewers in our midst, and so if you are a sewer, you're going to enjoy this. This collection is really going to be perfect for you. And so you don't have to be a quilter, you can be just a casual sewer, but this is a really fun collection. And I wanted to take a minute and tell you about the project playbook because as you probably have noticed, we've been getting project playbooks with most of the collections that have been coming out of late. And this project playbook is one that uses just about every sheet of paper in this collection. So if you want to do all of the layouts in the project playbook, you are not going to be able to do the project recipe using this collection. You can still use the project recipe for another collection, but just be aware that the project playbook does encompass layouts and the use of every one of the 12 pieces of paper and possibly even some of the Craft Happy designer matte paper. Well, actually, it might be the Craft Happy designer matte paper. There are 12 pieces of paper involved in making the layouts in this, and they may be, I didn't look to see which collection or which paper collection they came from. I'm sorry. I just realized that some of them might be from the designer matte paper pack sheets. But anyway, you're not going to have a lot of extra, is what I'm trying to say. You're going to need 2 sheets to do the project recipe, 2 designer papers to do the project recipe, and then you'll need at least 1 piece of cardstock to do the project recipe. And I'm going to use 2 sheets of navy as my base, so that's why the navy's out here. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so I'm just going to set that aside. I thought I would share with you a couple of unique things about this collection. You can see these are the stickers that are involved. Lots of buttons, sewing machines. There is a little bit of paint embellishing that leans towards painting, which is kind of cool because that's also another thing that a lot of us enjoy. But not a lot. It's along the lines of, the same amount that we have of scrap book type related things. Most of these things are for the yarn crafter or for the sewer. The majority for the sewer. Okay, but a couple of unique embellishment opportunities with this collection are these 12-inch rub-on pieces. And if you saw recently, I saw on the advisor Facebook page, I think is where I saw it, there was an advisor that had done a layout, and I saw these beautifully, they looked like they'd been drawn, beautiful little arches that were done like a stitch. And I thought, oh my gosh, she did that so perfect. No, she didn't. She used this. There's a rub-on here, right here, that is this cute little arch, and it looks like a stitch, and it's just darling. And there's two of them. So all of the different 12-inch rub-on patterns that are here, you have two of. So you can do them on 2 pages, or you can do 2 borders on 1 page, or however you want. But you have more than enough to do a 2-page layout and make it match. So these are super fun and will be neat to play with. And the embellishments that we have with this are on vellum, which is different than I don't think I've ever, in the history of Creative Memories, I've never seen, and maybe I just haven't noticed, but I've never seen embellishments that were vellum that they had created before. So these are really fun, and some of them are scrappy, but not necessarily things CM does, like this particular die cutting machine, and things like that. So that's kind of cool. We do get one for us scrappers of our 12-inch trimmer, which I thought was a nice homage. but most of them are sewing. That one is, of course, with paints. And anyway, these are just really, really cool. So I encourage you to experiment. If you don't know how to use vellum, look, there's a glue gun. If you're not sure about using vellum, the only recommendation that I have is that you get some vellum adhesive from Creative Memories. It's the blue cartridge. This is the best stuff for adhering vellum, because when you burnish it in, it virtually disappears. You may see a tiny little outline if you know where the adhesive is that you put on there, but when you burnish it in well enough, you shouldn't see it. So really, really fun to play with those as well. You get a designer paper pack with 12 sheets of paper. You get a matte paper pack with 6 sheets of paper. All of it is double-sided. And the matte pack has more tone-on-tone design on the flip side of anything that could be cut out. So that makes it super fun and very multi-purpose. Today we are going to go ahead and do the project recipe, and the project recipe uses the new punch. Isn't that cute? It turns out so cute. This is the scalloped crochet punch, and we're going to use it today. You're going to see how cute it's going to be. All right, and we are going to get started with the project recipe. Now, as I mentioned before, I have 2 navy blue pieces of cardstock that are going to be the base that we're going to use, because I'm not going to build this on an actual page. And we're going to use 2 pieces of designer paper. I chose the one with the spools of thread on it, and a few miscellaneous buttons, but these are the ends of thread spools, as I recall seeing them in my mom's house. Up on the wall, you probably have something similar. The back of this one is kind of a speckly pattern, and then we're going to use this yellow kind of lace doily patterned paper with the stripes on the back. Okay, those are going to be our 2 designer papers we're going to use, because I always try to give you an alternative to the papers that they use in the sample. And then I pulled, to go with this, I was looking for some avocado cardstock. I don't have any more avocado cardstock, sadly. So what I pulled was this is meadow green, and so it was an option on a cardstock buffet, I think, a while back. And it's pretty close, and it does match the greens that are in the print. So I feel good about it. So that's what we're going to use today. And let's go ahead and get started cutting out some pieces. So we're going to cut these 3 pieces. I'm going to move the navy bases out of the way. We'll get to them eventually. And grab my trimmer, and we will get these ready to go. So I'm going to start with the cardstock. Now they have it marked as using dark sea green. Dark sea green is one of the colors that you will find in the printed designer pages for this collection. I just am choosing to use something different. So you can use whichever color you like, and you'll notice that on the front of the paper pack there are these dots up here, and on those dots it'll tell you the name of the color of cardstock that Creative Memories has that matches the colors in this collection perfectly. So navy, beige, dark sea green, canary, and avocado, and those cardstocks will match and go with this perfectly. So you can pick any of those. Like I said, I wanted a green, but I didn't have avocado, so I'm making the best with meadow, and I think it'll be just fine. Okay, so I'm going to cut two pieces at 4 inches. Basically, I'm taking this 12 by 12 sheet and I'm cutting it into 3 strips that are each 4 by 12. Then I'm going to take these first 2 pieces, stack them, and I'm going to cut those at 6 inches. These are going to be mats, so I have a little cheater strip right here so I don't have to move my arm out on my trimmer. So that's 6 inches. Sometimes I can't see super well to make sure that that is exactly where, make sure my cardstock lines up with that edge. So that's why I put a really bold black line there so I can have a better chance at getting it right. Okay, so we're going to cut this strip into 2, well, essentially it'll be cut into 3 4 by 4 squares. So there's one, and we're going to do another. Then we're going to take 2 of these and stack them and cut them into triangles. So we're going to stack them and we're going to cut from this upper left corner to the lower right corner. And we're going to put those corners right on our cutting line that we can see right there on the trimmer. And we're going to go corner to corner. When you cut from corner to corner, slow down just a little bit. It's not as, your paper's not going to be as cooperative as it would be if you were just going straight down. So keep that in mind. It is going to work better if you go slower. All right, so then we are going to get, let's see here. I should have noted which paper I wanted where, and I didn't do that, but I believe, yeah. So we're going to cut, let's cut the thread spools first. This is designer paper number 2 for me. So we're going to again cut this into 3 4-inch pieces. And this is directional. I know it may not look directional, but you can read the item or the information on the ends of the spools. So let's check and see where this is going to go. It's going to be horizontal. So that means I want to turn my paper so that I'm cutting it across, and when I put those horizontal pieces on, I'll still be able to read I'll still be able to read the spools correctly. So we're going to cut that at 4, slide it over and cut it again at 4. So we have 3 4 by 12 pieces, just like before. This one's going to stay 4 by 12 and it's good to go. We'll set that over there. This one we're going to cut 1.5 inches off the end, and we're going to use the other side. So I'm going to measure 1.5 inches on the right hand side of my trimmer right here, and go ahead and trim that off. We're going to use this side for that particular piece, and that'll go over there just like so. Then this final piece we're going to cut a 1/2 inch off of before we, actually, yeah, we're going to cut a 1/2 inch off of first. So I'm just going to use the very beginning of the graph on the right hand side. That's the 1/2 inch mark. And we'll cut that 1/2 inch. We're not going to use that. You can set that aside to live to be used another day. Then we're going to use the remaining 3.5 inches, and we're going to make 3 3.5 inch squares. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And this little piece is extra, so we'll just set that over there with that strip. Okay, and these we're going to use the flip side of, so we're going to use this side when we put our layout together. Okay, so we're going to, I just flip it over just to remind myself that I'm using that side. And I keep hitting my stacks of mats that are up here. All right, now we're going to do designer paper number 1, which is represented by the peach right here, and that's going to be this yellow. This is not directional on this side, but if you flip it over, you've got stripes. Stripes are definitely going to be directional. And though the first 2 pieces that are 2 by 12 are going to be going underneath our punched pieces that are going to go here. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to make sure that we have the correct edge for under here. I want it to be all the different colors, so I'm going to turn my paper this way to cut my strips through it this way. All right, so we're going to cut 2 2 by 12 pieces across the colors like that. So there's 1, and this will be 2. Then we want a piece that is 4 inches. And the remaining 4-inch piece we want to turn and cut at 6 inches. So we're going to cut this in line with my little cheater strip up there. Okay, then we're going to stack this, and we're going to cut long triangles across. Okay, so we're going to line up the upper left and the lower right corners again, just like we did with those squares. The only difference is this is a rectangle. Corner to corner. All right, there we go. All right, now we have all of our pieces. So let's get our base sheets down, because we're not quite done preparing what we need to do, or all the pieces that we need. We have all the pieces that we needed to cut, but we are going to take each one of these pieces of navy cardstock, and we're going to, first thing we're going to do is go ahead and punch across one edge of each of these sheets. So I'm going to grab I have to flip it over, my scalloped crochet punch. If you've never used a CM punch like this, let me just very quickly remind you, there are 2 marks on the front here. You can either start on the left or you can start on the right using these marks to start your paper, and it just depends on which way you want to feed your paper. You also need to pay attention to these little notches that are right back up here. Those are going to help you line up your design quickly and efficiently. So I'm going to feed my paper going this way. If you like to go the other way, you'll use the left hand mark, but I'm going to use the right hand mark over here today, and I'm going to push my paper all the way to the back of of the punch. So there's a little wing back here that keeps you from falling off the back edge. I'm going to slide it over until the edge of it matches that mark in the front, and that is when I'm going to punch. Then I'm going to keep sliding it until this little notch right here matches the notch on the back, and when that happens, you can see the whole design lines up with and covers the blue field on the wing of the punch. So we punch again, slide until we see that notch, get it all lined up so that it's nice and perfectly covering the blue, and keep on going until we get all the way across. You can see that's where it stops, so we need to match up that notch. When you have really repetitive designs, it's nice that when they add that little notch in there, because it just helps you keep from continually feeding your paper too far. Alright, so there's that one. Isn't that pretty? I just think it's such a delicate and pretty looking result we get with this punch. Okay, so I'm going to do one more just the same as this one after I clean up my space here a little bit. And just for fun, we'll go the other direction this time. So I'm lining it up over here with the mark on the front, sliding it across. All right, all done with that. Just gonna set that behind me on my shelf. Clean up my space just a little bit. Okay, now we're going to go ahead, and the first thing that I'm going to recommend that we do is take these two by 12 inch strips, and we're going to add them behind the lace. Okay, so I'm going to take my where did it go? Let's see if we can use this one. I'm going to take my repositionable adhesive. Yours is going to be smaller than mine. I'm just going to add that right over the top of the holes in this lace. This is my favorite part about the repositionable adhesive. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, for the sake of ease, I'm going to line this up on my mat so that I know it's straight, and I'm going to look here and say, okay, there's my 12-inch mark. I'm going to put my paper down right over the top of that 2-inch piece. Doesn't that look lovely? I love all the different colors. I think that looks so nice. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing with this one, and I'm going to go the same direction so that they match. Okay, so repositionable adhesive, not all the way across, but almost all the way across. Okay, then we're going to line up my 2 by 12 strip on the mat, flip this over, put my corner down at 29 inches because this one's down at 17, the edge. Oh, it went so quickly the first time. Of course, right? All right. Hold that there and line up the rest of that. Perfect. Okay, Now, one's going to be up this way, the other's going to be out this way. Let's go ahead and we're going to work on the left-hand side of this layout first. And we're going to do this. Let's see here. I'm going to work with these first. My thread pieces, okay? Now, one of them's going to go all the way across the right-hand side, so I guess I lied because we're going to do this piece by piece. And I probably don't need to use repositional adhesive on this portion, but I'm going to because it's handy. Okay, this is going to go across the bottom about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom edge. So I'm just going to eyeball it. It does not have to be exact, but roughly 1/4 of an inch across from the bottom. Now I'm going to add adhesive to the matching piece that's a little bit shorter. I'm going to line these pieces up so they are at the same level, and I can flip this over and make sure it's exactly in the same spot. So it's not as critical that this be an exact measurement, this 1/4 of an inch. It's more critical that these two bands match. So whatever height you have it on the one side, make it that height on the other side, and it will look just fine. Okay, so we're going to put that down just like that. They have used a 12-inch sticker to go across underneath the punched space. You can see they've used the buttons. I'm going to come back over here to my embellishments. The stickers and those rub-on pieces. And the rub-on pieces, I think, are super cute. We could use those. We could use a sticker, these 12-inch stickers. They used the button ones on the example that they did for us. I'm actually wondering if maybe the white ones would be cute, if they would show up. So let's see if we could just rub on the white, one of the white ones. I think that would be super fun to try. I'm going to stick that up there. Grab this off of here. If you've never used a rub-on transfer, they have instructions on the back. They say to cut the icon out that you want to use, remove the white protective backing, and place the icon ink side down where you want to apply it. Then use your multi-purpose tool, this guy. Or you could use a burnishing tool if you have like a one of these, a bone scraper. That would work too. Over the top of the icon until the ink is transferred to the surface, and then carefully peel back the transfer sheet. If the ink has not completely transferred, gently replace the sheet and continue to rub it on with the multi-purpose tool. All right, so I think I want to just try either these white dots right here or these X's. I actually like the X's. I'm a cross stitcher at heart, so that makes sense to me that I would like the X's. So let me grab, I'm just going to use my trimmer because my freehand scissor work is not what I would call super accurate. So this will enable me to quickly trim off both of the stitch transfers. So there's one, and then the other one is over here. So fun to have these to play with. kind of new and different. Maybe not completely new, but they are not something that we have every time we have a collection come out. So that is exciting. Okay. So we're going to cut those out. Then we're going to remove the white backing. And I'm going to work on the right-hand side of this page first. So we're going to carefully remove the white backing, it says. Which is easier than done when you have fingernails. Okay, so we're going to remove, actually it comes off really easy once you get it started. Wow. All right, so then I'm going to turn this upside down so that I can place this down and make sure it is straight. So I'm going to line this up on my mat, and then that way I have a guideline, better visual guideline. I'm going to grab each side and lay this down right underneath my punched design, trying to leave the same amount of space on both ends of that. Okay, then I'm going to use my boning tool to go ahead and burnish that down. Okay, be careful as it puckers. This plastic a little bit kind of puckers just a little bit. You don't want it to, it lifted up right here, so my X's got a little bit off the mark. So you won't want to do that, but I can see that it is showing up beautifully on that navy. How fun is that? That's so cute. Okay, let's do the same on this side. To do this side, however, I'm going to need to move my paper just a little bit because it's going to go down underneath that paper. Okay, so let's remove the plastic piece. The white from the plastic piece. So cute. So cute on the navy. I hope you try this. This is really cool. Bless you. All right, let's see. There we go. All right, and then we'll smooth that down over the top. All right. So there is that portion. Now we have this portion. This portion is going to go right here. I'm going to go ahead and grab my adhesive and get this part down. This is the 4x 12 strip, and it's going to go down, looks like about a ½ inch from this inside middle edge of the layout. I'm making that match the same color variants that I have over here underneath the punched area. All right, then we are going to take some corners, some triangles, and these are the green triangles that we cut right off the bat. We're going to use these, and these are going to go and be angled this way. So I'm going to grab my repositionable adhesive again so I can do these corners on the triangles. We're going to start with the first one. The first one's the easiest one. Goes straight across the bottom and up the side, just like that. Okay. Then we're going to do the next one. The next one is going to go straight across from that point. Make sure those edges are exactly where they need to be. Okay, make sure they are exactly. Now we have one extra triangle, so I just set it over there. You're only going to use 3 of these triangles for this part. And you're going to make sure that this touches the top. Now what I'm noticing here is this middle one may need to be adjusted slightly because I have a gap. See that gap right there? So I'm just going to take this center one and I'm going to move it so that it's kind of an equal distance between the top and the bottom. It'll be less noticeable that way. Just sort of disappears, which is so fun. Okay, so then we are going to come in here with a triangle. Now you can use whichever triangle you want for this part. So we could use this one. It's a little bit kind of a flip of these first 3 colors, which is kind of nice to have. We could use this one, but I think I like the brighter colors. We could use this one, but it matches so much. I think maybe either this one or this one. And I actually kind of like this one that is flipped over from these colors. So we will use this one. And we're going to use one of our 4x6 mats. Now, instead of putting this on the page directly, I'm going to recommend that you take your corner and add it to your mat first. Okay? So I'm going to add adhesive to my mat, and then I'm going to add the adhesive to my corner. Now the other thing we could do is flip this over and use the opposite side. Let me see what their intention was, if the designer had mentioned flipping it over. They don't mention flipping it over and using the reverse side on the instructions, but you could very easily flip it over and use the other side. So it is up to you whether you want to do that or not. And I'm actually thinking that it might be nice to add a little more color variation to this, which means I need I don't have any of these that will put the corner on there on the right side. Well, that's kind of crazy, isn't it? Well, then I guess we'll do this way. Maybe we can flip some of them on the other page. We'll see. All right, so I'm going to add this in here, and they've got theirs about 1/4 of an inch. So 1/4 from the top, 1/4 from the bottom. And honestly, if I had thought about the directionality of how I wanted this to go, I would have turned one of them and cut from this corner to this corner instead of cutting both of them the same direction. But I didn't really consider that. I didn't think about it ahead of time. So you might want to consider that and think about how you might like to do it. Okay. This is going to be centered in this space right here. And so I'm just going to make sure that the border on the top and the bottom is similar, the border on the right and the left is similar. And actually they're almost identical. This is almost perfect. Oops, and then I moved it and pushed it down at the same time. That's not helpful to my cause. Okay, here we go. Okay, so that's going to be there. Then we're going to do the next side, and oh, we're not quite done with this side. My bad. Sorry about that. So these squares that we cut out of the thumb or the thread, these are going to go right here. They're going to be mats that you will put your pictures onto. And now if you don't want to, if you want your photo to be that full size, the 3.5 inches, then that's fine. You can just not use these. I'm going to place these on here and use just a little bit of repositionable adhesive right in the middle. And that way, if I decide when I know what photos I'm going to use, if I decide I don't want to mat them, I can just pull these off really easily, and no one, even if they lift a little bit of the color off, which sometimes happens, no one will see it because a photo will be covering that space, right? So all will be well. I love the visual and the optical illusion that this creates. Makes it look like you worked really hard to create some kind of a frame that's different. It gives it a three-dimensional kind of pop, which is so fun. Okay, let's do this side now. Now we're going to use these 3. So we're not going to use this extra tiny triangle. We're going to stick that over there. We're also not going to use this extra square that you end up with. That is extra. Depending on how you want to do your layout, you could use this extra square and put an extra photo right here, and that would be a nice mat for an extra photo if you have that. So you might want to keep that in mind. Keep this with your layout. Sometimes I just tuck things in like that so that I can use them later if I want to. Okay, so these 3 triangles that we already cut, these big ones, are going to go on these 3 mats, and we're going to place them so that the upper photo has a triangle in the upper corner going this way. The lower one has a triangle going this way, and the one on the side has a triangle going this way. Now, since we have the color variants matting going on this page, I probably would stick with it on this page just for consistency. But and I'll just lay this on here just so we can kind of keep it in mind. And I think what I would do is put this one up here and this one down there so that we get a little bit of this color, these colors spread out just a little bit more, and these colors spread out just a little bit more. Okay, so that would be that. But let's just see if it would look really bad if we flipped that one over and made that yellow. Let's lay this on here and we'll just see how that would be. Because the triangles are on different corners, so it's a little different. This is going to be down here further. So we could do it like that by flipping our triangles over, or we could, this one would go up here. We could do it like this and keep the consistency of those using those color bands. Honestly, I think I like the color bands best. I do like the yellow, but I think it's better to stay consistent with my eye is telling me that anyway. So that's what I'm going to do. You can do what you like. And I'm going to just go ahead and add Did I do that wrong? I did. I put that on the wrong corners. And I keep picking up the wrong adhesive. Wow, I am struggling today, guys. Gotta watch me. Struggle. I'm on the struggle bus, as they say. Okay, so we're going to do 1/4 of an inch from both long edges. And then just add just a little bit more adhesive so we can put that down. This is going to be, it looks like about 1.5 inches or so from the bottom. 1 inch to 1.5 inches, and about 3/4 of an inch. This edge is going to be about 3/4 of an inch from this center edge, so that the edge on the triangle will be about 1/2 inch and match this. Okay, so we're going to put it down right there. Okay. And then when you put this down on your layout, you're going to line up the green mats. And I'm going to put about 1/8 of an inch in between those two green mats. Like that. Sorry if you can hear outside. My husband and son are working on the yard a little bit at the moment, so we've got some mowing going on out there, which is good. So now I'm going to line up the bottom of this photo with the bottom of the mat on this side, and I'm gonna give it, to make it so we have about a ½ inch on this side, I'm going to give this a healthy 1/4 of an inch, maybe leaning towards 3/8 of an inch, but definitely at least a 1/4 of an inch right there. Okay. Then this remaining piece is going to be a bit of a journal box, or you could use it for a title, or just put some quick notes in it. That's going to go right above here, and it's going to line up with the triangle edge, so it's going to be out here a ½ inch from the outside edge. Okay, so that'll go there. Now all we have to do are the embellishments. So I'm going to grab my stickers, and I'm going to grab my embellishment tray, and let's see if we can decide which stickers we want to put. I'm going to move my 12-inch stickers over there. We're not going to use those on this. Without having pictures to go on this layout, it does make it a little bit tricky to choose embellishments. But like I said, I am a cross stitcher, so I'm leaning towards using things that have a cross stitch kind of theme, since I did this cross stitch little embellishment across there. So if I did that, I could do the So Far So Good. I could do fiberific. I could do, let's see, I could do So It Goes. We could take some pictures of my cross stitch projects that I've done. Those would be cute to use. I'm just going to sort of stick them to my tray right here. You could do So Far So Good too. That would be alright. Or one stitch at a time. Maybe we'll do one stitch at a time. That'd be cute. Alright, I'm going to stick those right there, and set that kind of to the side. Let's see what kind of these we have that would work with kind of the theme that I have chosen here. Cut from the same cloth. That's cute, but not really with the theme that I have going here. Let's see. There's an embroidery hoop we could use. Here's some floss and a hoop, and those cute little stork scissors that so many people have who do embroidery and cross stitch. We've got knitting, we've got a stitch counter. My dad used to use one of those in baseball, counting pitches, because he was an umpire. There's a cute, yeah, my grandma had one of those for herself. She was a tiny little lady, almost 5 foot, or 5 foot even, and she made a lot of her own clothes because she couldn't find clothes that fit her. My mother-in-law is now kind of in that same boat because she is tiny also. So we've got lots of options. Sewing machine, yarn, for crocheting, thimbles, kind of like that. Scissors, fabric samples, paints, glue gun. Oh, my mom had one of those or something like that to hold all of her crochet hooks. Yarn, quilt squares, maker. Oh, I like that. That's cute. We'll hold that one out. Pins, tape, and a tape runner. Aha! Washi tape and a tape runner. Not on this one. So much fun. There's another one we could use. It's all in the details. Handmade with love. Cute little crocheted bunny rabbits. Put a pin in it. Alright, that's scrapbooking. That's scrapbooking. And a little bit of coffee. And what's the one that I dropped on the floor? Because you know I have to drop at least one of them on the floor. And now it's stuck to my shoe. Aha! That is the rotating cutter. Okay. Let's go with I think I'm going to wait on those because they match some other things. Let's use I need some kind of smaller things. We have these. We have those. Let's see what we can combine. I keep wanting to turn this, and I don't know, the perspective is just kind of different. I'm not cluing into which direction this ought to go. All right. We've got needles, we've got thread. Let's pull one of these needles off. I think those would be fun to use too. They will give kind of an interesting line. Needle, handmade with love. They've recommended by their example that we put something up here in this corner, that we put something here by the journaling area, and then they really don't have a lot of other embellishments on this particular layout, which is understandable because there's a lot going on here, especially with the papers that we've chosen. So let's see if we feel like we need to add a third one. We could add our handmade with love up here in the corner. We would not necessarily be able to pop this up with foam squares really, because it's going to be a little too obvious, I think. But I think it's super cute. So you could do so much fun kind of over here. It's going to get lost a little bit. Going to get lost a little bit if we move it onto that border there, but if we used it down here, that would be better. So much fun. One stitch at a time. We could put both of those together. And we could pop up the one stitch at a time. Give it a little bit of lift. That one's going to be too small. Let's use one that's a little bigger. So much fun, one stitch at a time. And we'll add some buttons or something there too. Handmade with love. We could add maker up here. Or we could add fiberific. I like the yellow up there. I think it's helpful. The yellow just sort of brightens things up somehow. So let's add some foam squares to the back of this because it's going to go over the photo in order to work. And we may not want it to stick to the photo, so if we do like this, then we can slip the photo underneath, and that'll be good. We could add a little needle going up and through that. That'd be kind of fun. And I think I'm going to hold off on that for now. But, so it goes. So it goes. Could go up there with the fiberific. We'll add that maybe right there. So it goes, fiberific. And handmade with love. Most of the hearts that I see on here are with yarn, but we could still add a heart and maybe a button. Let's do a heart and a yellow button along with that guy right there. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there for just a second. Let's go ahead and address the okay, I need to get one of these off my fingers. Let's do this one up here. Okay, so we're going to just peel off the backing on this and peel off the backing on this top one, right? So I'm not going to peel, we could peel the backing off this middle one also, but not this one on this end because I want to be able to stick a picture underneath it. The foam square is just there to hold the sticker up so that it doesn't stick down onto the photo. And if you wanted to, you could use a little bit of powder on this area so that it doesn't stick on the photo either. In fact, I think I might just do that. We'll grab some of our non-stick powder and just go over just this end of the sticker so that it doesn't stick to the picture. Okay, so we're going to place this so that that foam square is outside the photo, but those other foam squares will hold it. Those three will hold it, and this one will just be adjacent. Then we can maybe slip this needle kind of through there. I'm just going to run it across. And if a photo ends up covering some of it, that'll be okay. Alright, so I'm going to use my vellum adhesive to put the vellum embellishments down. The vellum adhesive is different than our other adhesives because it's not necessarily a strip. Although if you really look at it, it is in strips, but when you try to administer it, it doesn't really necessarily come off in a strip, not as neatly anyway as our permanent adhesive. Our permanent adhesive, it comes off really nice and clean in a strip. Okay, so we're going to say handmade with love, and we're going to put that here. And I'm going to use my burnishing tool or my boning tool to burnish the corners of, or everywhere that I put that adhesive. You'll notice how it just sort of disappears and melts into the background. And you can't see it anymore. Woohoo! Ta-da! Okay, then we're going to take our little heart yarn and our button, and it's going to go like so. And then we can use this square to put a title or do some journaling. Okay, and then down here for the So Much Fun, we're going to add some vellum adhesive on this one as well. Just a little bit, doesn't need a lot, just a little bit in each corner. Can you see that? Oh, there's 4 spots that I just added that adhesive. Then we're going to add this in, and I'm going to just add it at a little bit of an angle, I think. Well, maybe not, because that's not at an angle up there. We'll just make it equally distant from this mat and this mat, and we'll put that on. Now you can see the adhesive where I put the adhesive on this one, right? We're going to go ahead and bring our boning tool over again and rub back and forth until it just disappears, and then you can't see it. We know it's there, so we will see maybe an edge or something, but the person flipping through this album is not going to know where the adhesive is on that, and that's what we're going for. All right, so peel the backing off of that foam square, and we're going to put this on 1 stitch at a time, and then I'm just going to add a few more buttons, I think. So we're going to add another yellow button, we're going to add a red, and maybe a blue button. Okay, and those are going to go right in there. Okay, so much fun. 1 stitch at a time. All right. Well, that looks like that's going to do it for us today. Let me know what you think about that. Would you be interested in trying the vellum? Vellum is a fun new thing for a lot of people, and we don't get it very often, so it's fun when it pops up in a collection. And these new rub-on borders I think are cool too, but again, remember, be careful and don't let them buckle, because that's what happened to mine right there. But you can see it does go on really clean when you're able to keep that plastic from buckling. So really, really nice, fun new things. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope this has been fun, and I hope this has given you some other ideas aside from the example that Home Office gave us. Here's their example again, so you can see it. And this really is a wonderful collection, especially if you are a crafter who enjoys sewing, painting, crocheting, knitting, all of those things. There's a little something in here for just about everyone. So I hope that that's going to be useful for you. I think it creates a really cute layout, and very suitable to just about any other collection as well. You could replace this punch with something different and punch that out of a different designer border punch and change this drastically. You could even turn this, you could turn it so it's like so, you could turn it so it's like this, You could just get so many variations out of this. So I look forward to seeing all of your samples posted, maybe in the virtual crop page, or you're welcome to send me a picture via private message too. Thanks so much for joining me today. Until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments. Enjoy your day.